Hello, today I'm going to be reviewing the Razer DeathAdder version 2, and I'm reviewing this because the new version 3 Pro is obviously out, and, a lot of people are getting it now, and, I like this. It's okay for me. The only thing I actually use this mouse for nowadays is Geometry Dash, because I don't want to double click in Geometry Dash, and I don't really have a lot of other mice that can't double click. A lot of them do. So sadly, that's the only case where I actually need a mouse that doesn't double click, so this will come in handy, and yeah, it will come in handy now, but I'm pretty sure I got a bad copy. First of all, I am not putting that much force. You can tell I'm not putting that much force. I'm barely squeezing the mouse, and it's creaking and, just squeaking a lot. And same thing with the mouse buttons. If I bottom them out a lot, which I do a lot, yeah, it's pretty bad. And another thing is just the post travel. I'm not sure if I can test this very well, but yeah, the post travel is pretty bad. Although, again, I bottom out the switches in Geometry Dash, so I don't really care. Because, again, I just bottom them out because I'm just used to that in Geometry Dash. These skates are okay. They're not as good as my XM1R, but they are still okay. They're not too loud, so... but my XM1R skates are very hard to beat. Even though they are smaller, they are way quieter. Next is the cable, and this is one of the best parts of the mice. Not the best part, and I will talk about that later. But this cable is pretty good, pretty flexible, even to the point where it doesn't really fly around on my desk like a lot of ultra flexible cables do. That's what I find the problem to be with like super flexible, like way too flexible cables. They just fly around, they like touch your hand and shit, and it's annoying. It's not the case with this. It's flexible, but it's not too flexible to the point where, again, it flings around and it bothers you in game, which I really like a lot. And I'm going to be talking about the best part, the scroll wheel. It is very, very light, it is decently tactile, and it is pretty easy to do a middle click. Meanwhile, a lot of other mice, rather than the XM1R, have a pretty hard time. I have a pretty hard time pressing that middle click. Maybe it's because I'm weak, which probably is because I'm weak, but yeah, still, this is a very big positive. I really like that scroll wheel a lot. I'll give sort of a sound test, and I'll be talking about the shape later after the sound test. So, oh, and the side buttons are also really good. They're pretty big as well, so they're pretty easy to hit. No post travel or pre travel on those. But anyways, sound test. And yeah, that's it with the sound test. Now let's talk about the shape, the most important part, and why I don't use this mouse at all, except for in Geometry Dash, where I can actually find a decently comfortable shape for it, or a decently comfortable way to grip it. I have to grip it like this in order to perform decent with it. I have to put my thumb more forward than I would like, especially when palm gripping, because this mouse is too big for me. I know I complain a lot about mice being too small. That's not the case here. This is actually too big for me. What a shocker. But it is because of that middle hump. If it was towards the back, this would be much easier to grip for me, but because it's in the middle, it kind of intrudes on the middle of my palm, or the middle of my finger, to the point where if I try to grip it more towards the middle of my thumb, or where I put the middle of my thumb, it will hit the middle of my finger, and it will just slope down to the point where it can't reach the front of the button. So it kind of just looks like I'm fingertipping when I'm not. I'm not trying to fingertip grip the mouse, I promise. But Yeah, again, this is too big for me unless I heighten my thumb a little bit and then I like kind of aggressively sort of just heighten my palm a little bit, and then I can have a decently comfortable shape and one that I can actually play Geometry Dash with. But rather than that, this has really no use case for me, rather than, again, that scroll wheel and the cable being good. Or rather than that, I just use my X1R. In fact, I would pretty sure the Razer Viper version 2 Mini or the DeathAdder version or the Razer Viper 8K Hertz will be a way better fit for me, since they're not as big as the DeathAdder, and they're not like Ergo as well, which I like. I like symmetrical mice, as I said in the past, better than Ergo mice. So, maybe I'm insane, but I just like symmetrical mice better than Ergo mice. Oh, and let's also test the button wobble a little bit, because you know how great the button sounded from that sound test. Oh, well, there is a decent amount of side wobble. Surprisingly, not on the right. On the left, there is, though. I think it's because I abused it too much. But, yeah, that's it, basically. That was my review of the DeathAdder version 2. I'm glad that they changed the shape, even though it's an iconic shape. I mean, it's basically been unchanged for about 16 years, maybe longer. And now they finally changed it in 2022 to something more safe. But I really like that they changed that, because again, this front flare is not for me, and it's not for everyone as well. So if you want a if you want to stick with the original, go for the DeathAdder version 2. If you want a different shape that will most likely be way better than this, but still big, but way less uncomfortable, then get the version 3 Pro if you want an Ergo mouse. If you want a symmetrical mouse, get the like a Razer symmetrical mouse, just get the version 2 or the Razer Viper version 2 Pro. Just get that, and yeah, that's basically it. That was my review of the version 2 DeathAdder, the version 2 DeathAdder, the Razer DeathAdder version 2. Okay, that is it. I'll see you guys later.